And
Then, I bet you know this song. Here's
We hear that. So everybody be on your best behavior. But just for all the fun sakes, if you need to take a break, go to the bathroom or something like that, we're recording tonight. And so the whole thing will be recorded so you can play it again. Justin will help us kick it out as a YouTube video and be able to share it out to everyone so they can watch and so that you can replay later inside your unit or share it with anyone else in your unit too. The other wonderful thing about this is if you could help us, we are here to help answer any and all questions, but help us by making the meeting move along by saving those questions until the end of the night. And so everybody here and with us has a pen, paper, notepad, phone to be able to take notes. Just write down your questions and hold on to the end, and then we'll cycle back around it. So we have tons of info to go through, lots of different ideas. Some of it may be new ideas, some of it may not be a new idea to you, but these are best practices. And so we're here to help you with formulating those best practices for your unit. Some of it is very applicable to a Cub Scout pack, but a lot of times you think, all right, this isn't necessarily applicable to me as a troop, but it very much is. All of the best practices, all the core philosophies, they're all the same, no matter where you go for scouting. And so we're here to talk about those tonight. So last couple things. So I'm Pat Danneberg. I'm your Scout executive. So I'm here at the Scout office and work for the Scout office. And with me, we have
Kelly Wall,
Justin Holton.
And these are your district executives. And you may have heard recently, but we kind of did some reassigning between units. And so these guys have shuffled around with who they have specifically to work with. And so if they stop calling you, it's not because they're ignoring you. It's because they're trying to shift and help some other units. And we redid the boundaries so that there was a little bit more logical approach to it. So, but these two guys are here to help answer any questions and help you go forward with some of the thoughts and practices from tonight. So now, as we look at things for recruiting, our goal is to help you look at it a little different. Maybe to just try to practice something with a different viewpoint. Or maybe you're here to say, all right, I thought of something, I want to try it. Well, we're here to help make sure that you can do that. But as Walt Disney said, if you dream it, you can make it happen and you can make it big, right? And so think of that as you work towards planning out recruiting for your scouting unit and try to apply that for everything you do. Now, one of the things that we do inside scouting is we turn around and say, all right, every unit needs to have a plan. Well, what's that plan? Well, one of the things we ask you to consider is participating in the 12-point plan. Your DEs, these two guys, are going to turn around and interact with you and say, well, what are you looking at doing for a 12-point plan? Well, a 12-point plan is simple. We give you a list of a whole bunch of different methods of how to recruit scouts. When you look at it, you turn around and say, all right, I just want you to pick 12. It doesn't matter what 12 you pick, but pick 12. And normally, if I talk to anybody on their scout unit and what they're doing to recruit kids currently, sometimes they're doing 2, maybe they're doing 3, maybe they're doing 5. That's kind of starting to stretch how many different methods they're doing. Rare do you have anybody going past 5 methods of things that they did purposely to recruit kids. But if I sit down and say, all right, pick 12, your goal is to pick 12. Well, odds says by the time you get to that 10th, 11th, and 12th goal, you're probably overlapping into the community with other scout units. So maybe you're in a small community and you have a pack, but you hit that 11 or 12, and at the same time, you're helping the other units in the area too, because you're starting to be more public faced and be seen in the community. So what we're asking everybody to do is take a look at this, meet within your pack or meet within your troop and sit down with the other leaders and try to identify 12 methods that you can do as a unit to recruit. It's very simple. Just pick 12. Those lists will take you throughout the entire year. The core principles for what you really need to focus on are listed there, but then you can pick any 12 you really want. So, when we start looking at recruiting, really it's a year-round process. Sometimes you only hear from the scout executives, these DEs, in the summertime or in the spring or in the fall time. And a lot of times the focus is really in the fall. But really there's phase 1, and that's in the winter, springtime. And then there's a phase 2, and that's in the fall. And then there's a phase 3, and that's really a follow-up, a second recruitment that goes along with the fall. And so when we start looking at phase 1, that winter, spring recruitment, the scout office is here to support you for any of these phases. But in the one that happens in phase 1, whatever you want to do. So if you want to do popsicles in the park, or if you want to go have kids come to a regular meeting, or you have something set up where it's just a little different, do it in that spring and winter time. That's the time when you can plan how to handle that. Now, come the fall time, when you start looking at phase 2, there's a couple things that we really try to push for and ask that you consider. We ask that you ensure that you maximize local recognition that kids can join. We also want you to bring opportunities as local as possible. So take it down, not just to say, all right, all of La Crescent can join scouting. We want you to go and say, take it local. Take it to the elementary schools. Take it to the middle schools. Take it to the kid, specifically, individually, that message of joining. Take it to the parent, individually. Take it as local as you can and get it as close to home, because the closer you get to the home, the closer you are to having a message be delivered for sure. Now, one of the things that we mentioned was phase 3. Really, it's just a repeat of phase 2. Now, everything in phase 2 is not going to happen exactly the same in phase 3, but you're really trying to repeat again. Now, there are some philosophies to recruiting, and the one that I can't overemphasize is having more adults participate. You guys know, anytime you have more adults helping, it makes it easier, because you just can't talk to 10 parents all at the same time that are all new at that same meeting. You need help. You need help answering those questions. And so if you take the time and point out to people, I need help, and you specifically ask for small tasks, you can help identify them. But one of the things that you really have to pay attention to is, who are you recruiting? Are we recruiting the kids, or are we recruiting the adults? Well, we're recruiting both. But are you really recruiting adults, or are you recruiting leaders? Or are you recruiting friends? And sometimes we have to do activities as adults and take that time and pause and say, I need to focus time on just becoming friends with somebody. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have lifelong friends from my kids doing scouts. We've moved all across the country. I keep up with them all, but they're friends for a lifetime. And it's the same thing for you. If you take that time and pause and say, I'm going to work to make sure I build friendships, they'll come along with you for anything you want to do. And so sometimes you have to do an activity. And I love this Cub Scout activity, but the philosophy is applicable to a troop also. But in Cub Scouts, there's something called cardboard box derby. You take a cardboard box, you cut out the top of it, you cut out the bottom of it, you slide it up over a kid, and then you poke holes in the sides of the box, and the kid's hands can stick out the holes. Or you take a strap and attach it to the 2 straps and attach it to the front of the box, run it over the shoulders and attach it to the back of the box. And it just rests on the kid, right? But that kid then takes it and decorates it. Maybe it looks like a Porsche or a semi, or it looks like an X-Wing fighter, or maybe it looks like some other UFO out there flying around. It doesn't really matter, but you take all these kids, they have these decorated boxes, and they run around a big oval track. And on the outside of the oval track, there's little stations that they have to stop at. Well, let's say the first station is changing tires. Well, they pull up to that station after they ran around the track twice, and they pull up and they stop, and a parent says, all right, change your tires. So the kid takes the shoes off, puts the shoes back on, but puts them on the wrong feet. And then I got to run a loop around the track and comes right back to that station. But the key to the station is that as a pack, you approach each one of your dens. You approach all of your parents and say, parents, the leaders have something else to do tonight. We cannot run this activity. We need help. We need other people to run the station for us. We need you to prepare the station. We have something else grand that we're helping with. The entire intent of that type of activity is taking small tasks, small individual tasks, and assigning it out and asking individual parents that don't normally do something to help do with the task. And your other leadership, well, what are they doing? Well, after a couple laps and everybody's had fun with their kids going around and doing a couple of laps, those parents are still at the track, but the leaders go off to the corner of the room and you evaluate the room. What parent is being the loudest and best with the kids and being vocal and happy and cheerful? That person might be your next assistant cub master. What parent showed up with the most decorated station? Well, that parent might be your next blue and gold banquet chair. What parent turned around and has the most organization to how they're doing everything? Maybe they're your advancement chair. But the point is you had all these people that your den leaders and other pack leaders sat down and helped identify to get out there and be engaged. And you're pointing out the skills that somebody is good at and asking them to go and help fit some needs of your unit. A troop can do the exact same thing for a fun activity on a Saturday at a park or on a camp out, but it's the same philosophy. Small tasks, asking parents to do it, standing back as leaders and evaluating who's doing good and trying to match the skills that they're showing to what you need as a unit. Recruiting adults, it's so critical. Finding parents to help out, it's absolutely key to help making all of our jobs easier to be better as a scout unit. Now, one of the things that you can do as a scout unit is recruit a new member coordinator. If you haven't heard of this, feel free to put your phone up over the computer or over here and scan it, but you can also search on Google for it. A new member coordinator is critical to every unit. You go to church on Sunday, there's somebody with a little name badge there. They greet you, say hi. Maybe you pick up your own name badge. Maybe you do something different, but somebody is there at the door greeting you. Well, why shouldn't scouts have the same philosophy? Why shouldn't you always have a new member coordinator that's responsible for greeting any new parents that come? If it's a join night, great, they can help you plan it. But if you have a new member coordinator inside your scout unit, that person can always have the welcome packet. You have specifically tasked somebody with going up to a new parent and helping them feel welcome. That's so critical. We miss out sometimes on helping that. And maybe it's a month later before a parent figures out how they're supposed to fit or what they're supposed to do. But a new member coordinator, while the rest of us are super busy trying to run a pack meeting or a troop court of honor, we're sitting here trying to figure out how everything's going to happen for those nights. But a new member coordinator has the time to pause and go do that. It's not a big commitment. It's really easy to ask any parent in a unit to help do that. And so I always implore upon people, take the time to find somebody that's not willing to step up for an everyday task, but maybe this is a really simple task for them to help out with. Just shaking hands and saying, hey, here's the info that you need. And so such a critical little role that can help make everybody have better retention and better program. And really overall, as leaders, our biggest goal is to try to be as most efficient as possible. Like, I'm not going to stand up here and tell you, here's some things to do because it's a waste of your time. Because these are best practices that I learned with my kids and while working for the Scouts. And so after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recruitment nights, let's take that and refine it down so that I can share it with you as a best practice so that it can be as most efficient for you so that you're not wasting your time. But one of the things that's critical and key is you need to own your area. Where do you recruit from? Because if you don't pay attention to where you recruit from, then those people may not know you. If you own one particular elementary school, when was the last time you did a service project for that school? When was the last time you said hi to the principal as a unit leader? If you don't have these engagements, then do you really own your area? And owning your area opens the door to make it easier to recruit. It's a 5-second relationship. It doesn't take much, but just saying thanks to a principal, dropping an extra case of popcorn off, saying thanks to the school secretary or to a church secretary, all those little things add up, but it means you're owning your area and trying to create the relationships so that you can more easily recruit. Now, as I like to share with people, the most important thing that you can do for recruitment is set a date. You got to share that date with these guys because they will help you figure out everything else you need to do before that. Well, let's face it, we all have to hold ourselves accountable somehow. And one of the ways to do that is by picking your date. Now, you have to do it on a night that you normally meet. I love the example. We meet on Tuesday. We're going to do our recruitment this coming Saturday. Well, are you recruiting the kids that can show up on Saturday, or are you recruiting the kids to show up to your normal meetings on Tuesday? If you want the kids on Saturday, then move your normal meeting to Saturday, right? So make sure you always do recruitment nights on the night you normally meet and do familiar locations. As a unit, you need to discuss setting these dates because somebody else may know the school calendar better. Somebody else may remember one other particular thing in town that's a special carnival or fun thing that everyone else is going to. But if you share it and discuss it as a unit, that helps you pick the most solid date that you can work towards where you have the most efficient possible date, meaning more people can show. The more people that can show, the better likelihood you are to having more kids come with parents. Don't forget though, ask other parents and leaders to help participate in that night. You have to share that date far enough out. We want these people to come. Sometimes do they bring their kids? Hard to say. It depends on the scenario, right? But you got to be part of a backdate plan and have it planned out. But that location is critical too. Sometimes we forget that people want to go to familiar locations. And a familiar location is a lot of times that school. Wherever you recruited from, that's familiar to those kids and parents. So for example, if your pack or troop meets at the Methodist church and you're going into the school and you're saying, go to the Methodist church on Tuesday at 7. Well, that's where you normally meet. It's not a big deal because that's where you normally meet. It's not a big deal to you. You've been there. But what if you just try to recruit the kid that's going to the Catholic church or the Presbyterian church or isn't really comfortable going to any organized church, right? Well, if you hold that recruitment at a familiar location, like at the school, or if you hold it at the park next to the school, these are places where parents are more familiar with and they're more likely to show up. It's all about thinking about increasing your odds for having parents show up. The more you increase your odds, the more you have a chance of getting more kids to join. Less familiar location, you decrease your odds. So that's why I talk about, what's being more efficient. Now, one of the things that's critical to your recruitment night is making sure it's a standalone recruitment. One of the things I see so often is you have a scoutmaster or a cum master say, I'm going to hold this on a regular meeting night. Well, if you're holding it on a regular meeting night, that means all the other parents and all the other kids are also going to be there. Well, those people know you as the leader. So they're going to ask you questions. They're going to be looking to you for leadership and guidance for that night, which makes it hard to break away for the parent that doesn't know what to talk to you about. You don't get to give that new parent the same amount of attention as you just gave to all the other parents, which then makes it to where you didn't start off with building a good friendship or trying to create a good relationship with these new parents, which then makes it hard, which then also decreases your odds of having them join or decreases your odds of having them commit to also helping be a leader. And so when I say have a standalone night, try not to do popcorn on that same night. Try not to go out and say, I'm going to have awards for a bunch of other kids that night. Focus solely on trying to do one thing and one thing really good, and that's recruit kids. And everybody's attention should be towards that. Now, remember though, it needs to be on the familiar night, that familiar location. Because if you want the kids that are willing to go to the Catholic church, you're going to get the kids that are willing to go to the Catholic church. If you want the kids that are willing to go to Wednesday night, you're going to get the kids willing to go to Wednesday night. But if you meet on Thursday, well, maybe you don't wind up getting any of them to go to Thursday. But that's okay, because Justin and Kelly don't mind helping start another unit in the area, right? But when we start looking at the calendar, we mentioned about picking that date. The join night date is critical. As you can see with this, all right, we know we pick a join night date, and either the day of or the day before, you're going to do scout talks at a school. And then you're also going to try the week before to set out yard signs. And you're going to try to do the week before or 2 weeks out or both, handing out flyers. You're going to try to make sure 2 to 3 weeks out we're doing social media and getting an ad posted, because the scout office will do that for you. We're going to try to make sure that you make the back to school night, and you're going to try to coordinate everything with the school. Coordinate with the school is really easy. It's just a visit with the school secretary. Hey, what's the calendar look like? What's the first day of school? Hey, what's the earliest you would let us come into the school? Hey, what can we do around a school carnival? What's back to school night? Back to school night's great, because if you can get into the school for back to school night, that's one more touch with parents on being able to say, come join Scouts. And if you hold your join night after that and you hold it with all these other things, then you're working up to build to more recruitment of a push to come to that recruitment night. So critical on making sure that you have a backdated plan and you pick all these things and try to get all these things lined up so that you have an efficient night. Now, when we talk about your recruitment in join night, that particular night, you have two methods that you can do for recruiting. One is called the table method. The other is called the talk method. Now, for the table method, we're talking about 3 to 5 tables at it. You're trying to get volunteer support, and that volunteer support could be parents and leaders from PAC or the troop, but it also could be scouts. So if you're a troop, you can use your own scouts to help do this. Or if you're a PAC, you could actually recruit this local troop to come help. But the key to it is that your first table, you want it to be a greeter table. And then at your second table, you're looking to work on the first early steps of advancement. And so for a PAC, that would be the Bobcat badge, pin. And then for a troop, you're talking about the Scout badge. And so you're trying to work on some of those early requirements. And then they're going to travel from that first, or that table 2 over to table 3, where they're going to meet leaders for your unit. And that's where you get to say, all right, at table 1, they give you an envelope. In that envelope, please pull out the unit calendar. On this calendar, we're going to review a couple of key dates here. Here's when we meet. Here's how often we meet. And then you're also going to say, all right, pull out this other little sheet. There's a little info sheet in here. Here's all the contact leader info. Here's how much we charge for dues. Here's how often we do things. Here's why we go camping. Here's how often we go camping. Here's where we're trying to find help and do things also. Here's how often we do service in the community. Whatever you want to say as a unit and hand out as info, it's kind of some of your sales pitches, but it's also your contact info. And those two little pieces of paper, your calendar and the info sheet, along with other stuff that Justin and Kelly have, all go into this little envelope, and your leaders were able to discuss it at table 3. Table 4, it's the least interesting table. Fill out an application. And then table 5, it's do an activity. We'll talk about the application and table and some of this stuff in just a second. Now, the other method that I mentioned is a talk method. Really, it's somebody that stands up in front of a room and you try to organize your tables across a room by grade. If you're having a lot of kids show up, you definitely organize by grade. But what you're trying to do is have one particular person stand in front of everyone, hope that they're great at making a sales pitch, hope that they're going to sound good, and you're going to try to convince everyone to join Sky. It's a pressure method. Does it always work? No. We all know that sometimes in this particular method, you get one parent that sits there and says, well, I just came to get information tonight. Like, right? Not what you wanted to hear, but it happens. And that one person making that comment can derail your entire recruitment night. But if you do the table method where parents come and go as they show up, then you don't have that derail in front of all the parents, right? And have to recover from it. The talk method requires you to think fast on your feet and make a good sales pitch. And so the table method requires you to be more organized, have more people engaged, but it allows everybody, if you are set up by 6:45 and ready to go by 6:45 and you advertise 7 o'clock with the table method, if you're organized and ready to go, they can go ahead and start going through. On a lot of times with the table method, somebody can get through everything in 30 minutes. And if they heard what they want, they're out of there. If they want to be out of there in 15 minutes, they're out of there. If they want to stand around and start to meet people and have fun and be there for the next hour, they can. The table method allows that. The talk method, they're going to be there for as long as you're talking. Now, one of the things that's super critical, I mentioned this a second ago, but here is a QR code for the BS Scout Pen. Justin will help make sure that this link is out there. This link helps you set up your BS Scout Pen. And so if you haven't paid attention to your BS Scout Pen, you want to make sure you do. Because as a council, we advertise that your Scout unit is available on a map. And then it says date, time, location, contact, and all that info on there. And so be cognizant to go out and update that, make sure it's current for your unit. And then one of the other things I mentioned earlier was that unit calendar and unit info sheet. So these are some of those things that you need to take time to prepare for. As a council, one of the things by next fall that we'll help do is we're going to have short URLs set up for every unit. And what that really means is you'll be able to type in gatewayscouting.org/troop19, and it will take you right to your BS Scout pen. And that way, as you heard me just say it, you can rattle it off. Because if you've seen that URL for BS Scout, it's long, it's alphanumeric, it's like it's coded for something, right? It's worse than a UPS tracking number. And so we're going to try to help make sure that you guys have a URL that you can stand in front of a group of people, call out, and be able to direct them to help sign up. And when it's when you're out there doing things, we as a council have lots of materials to help support you for doing a recruitment. And so these are important. So we can help you with different invitation methods, but the stickers, we print those in-house for you. They're customized. We have generic ones. We can also do wristbands, custom wristbands that say date, time, and location right on the wristband. And that can be handed out inside a school or any other type of activity. So those are really helpful because a sticker falls off through the course of the day. And with those Tyvek wristbands, so let's face it, you've seen them probably at the pool or some other place. They just don't fall off, right? And so that's helpful. But yard signs, we have those flyers and posters. We have all this stuff to help you in recruiting. That envelope that I was talking about earlier with a unit info sheet and a calendar go in, we have those. If you need a template for those, we've got that kind of stuff. We do have a parent orientation guide that's helpful also. There's a passport that goes in there, kind of has like a check off for the tables. So you can go table to table to table. And then of course, we'll help include the app in there too for you. You know, my encouragement is to make sure that you also do online apps. Work hard to try to establish that you can do those. If you do an online app, the accuracy of all the info on there goes up instantly. And you'll get the email address for that person. As soon as we put it in, you have access to that email address. And it's through Scoutbook that you have that access and through your online roster. So really helpful information. We do have a couple other things that are important. We offer plenty of sign-in sheets. Those are good tools for that join night. But then we also have information sheets. I know that's Cub Scout specific, but on a DIN formation sheet, that's there as a tool to help you form a Cub Scout pack. Some people look at me like I'm crazy. I can form a Cub Scout DIN in 2 seconds. And I don't even stand at the table. I get the parents on helping form it. And so this DIN formation sheet, these guys have been trained in how to use it. And so always feel free to talk to Justin and Kelly about how to use one of those. So there is 4 things that you have to do on recruiting. There's 4 methods of tools that we all have to use. And it's flyers, social media, yard signs, and scout talks. If you miss one of those and can't do one of those, we have to double down and do more of one of the others. And so sometimes you can't do the flyers, or sometimes you can't do the scout talks. Well, just to help you be aware, for the state of Wisconsin, SB 11 was passed this last fall. SB 11 allows us to go in the first month of school and be able to do Cub Talks and flyers in all Wisconsin schools. Now,
Middle school and high school too?
Middle school and high school and elementary school. And so it allows us to do that in the first month of school. It's scouting and 3 other organizations that were written into this bill and passed by the Wisconsin legislature. And so that's particularly helpful. Don't start talking to all the schools quite yet. We're about to approach our superintendents, but I wanted to make sure that you're aware of it. And we're working to help make sure the school districts are supportive of it. So if you're in a particular small town and you feel like you're going to have a challenge with that, reach out to Kelly and Justin, and we'll help make sure that we get in touch with the school. So now on all these materials, the Scout office can help print them. And so the flyers, the yard signs, wristbands, you name it, all this stuff, the Scout office is here to help print them. Don't sit there and think I have to print 1,000 flyers out in color at my house. We have beautiful flyers that are ready to go. We can help you print those. We add custom content on the very corner of the bottom of the page. And then we have the entire back of the page that we can put content on too, that you can help us customize, or we can do our prefab template that we put. But just be aware that we have all these resources that we print in-house that's very specific with your date, time, and location and contact info. Social media wise, just know we try to get those things posted 2 weeks out. And so if you give us the info 3 days before, well, there's a couple of problems. 3 days before, if we're just getting the info, well, we can't help you with flyers. We can't really help you with Scout Talks. We can't really help you with social media, and all those backdating parts and plans fall apart because we didn't get organized with a date far enough in advance. And so social media is one that requires even further advanced knowledge, and we'll be able to post that for you and post an ad. The council pays for the ad too for you, and we'll take care of all the logistics and helping set it up. Just know on a social media ad, you need the date, time, and location. And then if there's anything special that you've got going on with it, we can help advertise too. Now, yard signs, if you've seen a yard sign in the past or used a yard sign in the past from us, there's a big white section on there. Don't do permanent markers on there. It'll suck up the permanent marker in 2 seconds. And when you start looking at some of the yard signs, here's a couple of examples on here. You can start to see on any of these, if you were to pull up to a stop sign, and that yard sign, when you're at a stop sign, on average is somewhere around 20 feet away from you. This is 2-lane road, right? Stop sign. That yard sign is on average 20 feet away from you when you're there. It's hard to read at 20 feet when it's written with a permanent marker. Remember, we're talking about increasing our efficiency. So the way you do that is you reach out to the scout office and they will help print little pieces of paper that can go on the bottom. Now, on this particular yard sign, it's got more info on it, but that particular yard sign is designed and set up in the top left for somebody to walk by. That's a good example of a yard sign in front of a school, because at that particular yard sign, you can take a flyer out. Now, that's just a simple envelope that's sold at Walmart. And because it's all plastic, you can put your pieces of paper flyers right into it and set it out in front of a school. But you'll notice on all these other yard signs, you can't read those. And so our goal is to make them readable and be able to pass on at some form of a speed, and just have as a reminder, Tuesday, 7 p.m. at school. Simple little things like that. Makes a big difference. Now, placement of yard signs is critical. You know, think about where you're at. You know, what school is there? Where do the cars flow to and from the school? But where do cars flow in the community? Is there a particular Quick Trip in the area? Is there a particular Walmart in the area? Is there a particular IGA grocery store that's in the area? Yard signs where cars flow, more importantly, where cars stop, means you have a higher likelihood of that yard sign being seen. If you put a yard sign right in front of the school and 3 cars park in front of the school for the next 30 minutes while everybody's getting out of school, and you got cars zipping by outside of those cars, well, they're never going to see that yard sign. And so you just decreased your odds for having a yard sign not be seen. So why put it there? Put it at the stop sign at the corners around the school. Don't put it right in front of the school. Unless it's one of those yard signs where it's in a foot traffic pattern. And that's just knowing your school, being observant, you know, a month out from when you're going to do your joint night. Just kind of pay attention. Hey, where's the cars going? Where's the busy stores at? Where's everybody got to go? If everybody's going to go get gas over the next week, all right, well, if Quick Trip doesn't want you having the yard sign right there in front of Quick Trip, maybe you do it across from the stop where they have to go before they get back on the road. There's different little tactics, but just think about where you place these yard signs. Yard signs, I've done it before, where I didn't have access inside a school. And I put 42 yard signs out, one little community, and that's all I did. And I had them out for 3 weeks, was able to start a new pack just because of that. Because of that yard sign. And so those yard signs, people drive by them and they're helpful. Now, Scout Talks, those are when you go into a school. And there's a couple different methods. And it's important for us to have that relationship with the school office, whether it's the principal or, as we sometimes call the gatekeeper, the secretary of the school. That secretary is designed and in a place to be protective of the time for the school principal. they have the ability to make a lot of decisions. And so us taking good care of them is just as important as taking care of the principal, because these scout talks and flyers are critical. Now, scout talks can be done classroom to classroom. They can be done in a school assembly. So, hey, at the end of the school today, can you get together with all the kids in the cafeteria at 10 minutes before the bell rings? And I want to talk to them about joining scouts. Or talk to them at lunch. Lunch is a great time. You can go in, you can help the kids open up the juice boxes, wipe the tables in between, help the people out. They love it when you're there to help out. And then you talk to the kids for a few seconds about joining the scouts every time they have a new wave of kids come through. Or you can do it on the playground. If you do it on the playground, let all the kids play. Go put wristbands on them while they're playing. Hand those out. And then ask the person that's coordinating the recess for the day, hey, instead of bringing the kids right over when you have to go in, can we bring them over 3-4 minutes early and let me talk to them before they go inside about joining scouts? Great. School announcements. Can you record a school announcement? Everybody's got a recorder on your phone. Can you just do the school announcement in 30 seconds on your phone and let them play it as an MP3? There's lots of different methods, but my preference, personal preference, is to go in during lunch, because I know lunch is about an hour and a half. Playground time, about the same. Classroom to classroom, you could be there all day. But I'll take what I can get. These two guys, Justin and Kelly, are here to help be able to go into schools. Where it becomes more efficient on doing these scout talks is when there's a relationship with the school, between the unit and the school. Because when there's that relationship, then there's a greater likelihood of being able to do scout talks. And when you have that relationship, you can do the lunchroom talks even faster. And those are a great setting to do it. Now, one of the key things that I always turn around and say is, what's critical in a scout talk? Do you do it to the entire group all at once, or do you just do it as a small personalized group? Do you do it one-on-one? But every single one of us that are either online today or here in this room, you need to practice saying a sales pitch to a parent and kid about joining scouts. And I can say it rolls off my tongue. Hey, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, right here at the school, you can join Cub Scouts. So if you want to go do BB guns, bows and arrows, you want to go camping, if you want to go on a climbing wall, if you want to go out and learn how to use a pocket knife, or you want to do archery, or you want to make one of these cool race cars I've got, then you want to join Cub Scouts, because tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, right here at the school, you're invited. And if you really want to come, I want you to bring your mom and dad, and I want you to go home and tell your mom and dad tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, right here at the school, you can join Cub Scouts. It's not complicated. It's that repetitive thing, right? So,
I always get the Cub Scouts to repeat it after me too, because then they really remember it. If you're like, all right, repeat after me, 7 p.m., 7 p.m., here at the school, here at the school. And then they leave and they're chanting that the whole rest of the day. They're going home telling their parents, 7 p.m. at the school, I want to shoot BB guns.
Or one more last time too was I'd be like, what time is it? Is that 7 or is that 6? Is that at 6 or is that 7? 6 or 7? And they just go nuts. They think I know what I'm talking about. And then and so just to get them all fired up.
I love it. Cub Talks and Scout Talks are some of the most fun things that you can do inside scouting. You're taking a kid that isn't inside scouts and getting them excited about joining scouts. And then when they show up that night, it melts your heart a little that this kid you saw earlier in the day is now there with their parent to hear about joining scouts. And so it's one of the funnest things you can do. So
They'll always be obsessed with they'll come up to me and be like, look, I still have the sticker that you gave me. I still have the sticker.
Later.
you noticed I said 3 times. It's so critical when you're talking to a family or to a kid. Repeat it. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, right here at the school. Tomorrow night, 6:30, over at the Catholic church. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Tonight, 6 o'clock. Repeat it 3 times as you're telling people so that it sticks, okay? But the other thing that you always have to say is that you're invited. The number one reason why parents and kids do not join scouting is because they did not feel like they were invited. And the way you twist that really fast is by just saying you're invited. And one of the things that I love to do is if I'm able to do Cub Talks inside of school, that same flyer that I handed out the week before or 2 weeks before, I take that same flyer, I print a whole bunch more, I fold them down to where they fit into the size of a kid's pocket, and I'm handing them out right there at lunch or wherever I'm doing the scout talk. Say, and if you're really excited, tomorrow night you're invited to come. And if you really want to come, I have this invitation. Would you like an invitation? And the kids go, so you hand them an invitation. It's nothing more than a flyer. Take that invitation home. Nothing special. It's just a folded up piece of paper to me, but you know, it's the term that I used. And every kid, you know it, you've seen it with your kids. If some other kid brought that birthday invitation to school and sent it home to everybody, your kid came home excited about a birthday invitation. Now you gotta talk them down, or hey, man, you may not be going, right? But it's still there, right? They're excited because you got a special invite. And that's what you can do. That term is so important. Look inside recruiting kids and parents to join scouts. This number 7 is critical. It takes on average 7 times before somebody joins scouting that they had to hear it. They had to hear it 7 times. That's a lot of times before they join. And so think about that. You know, when you're out there in the community, you set up a yard sign. Well, somebody may have come because they drove by that yard sign 7 times, right? That can count. But maybe it was a mom and she saw the social media ad on Facebook 6 times. And then her kid came home with the flyer. Okay, I get it. I'm going to join Cub Scouts, right? 7 times is important. When you go up in the ages and you get into a troop, 7 times becomes even more critical. You got to work on those teenagers, right? To get them to join. Those young teens, you got to work on them to join. And you got to convince a parent, but that phase of convincing a parent in middle school and high school is last, whereas convincing the youth has increased. So it's kind of that little sliding chart, right? Where the parent is less involved in the decision to participate, and the youth has increased in their decision. But that's what we all do in life. We all start to learn to make decisions, right? Now, part of the recruitment, you've got to think about what are you doing after your recruitment? Now, we talked about the DIN formation sheet, and there's a DIN formation sheet to help you. But look, the most important part is that you're communicating and you have to form that plan. So take the time to always say, what are we doing afterwards? Is there a special activity that we're doing right away? One of the things that I always said for my Cub Scout pack was, all right, we're going to do a special night of joy night. And in 2 weeks, we're going to do the rain gutter regatta. And so on that recruitment night, we built rain gutter regatta boats. And in 2 weeks, you come right back and we're racing the boat. And so there's a fun activity followed by a fun activity. The parents understood the vision of where they were going with doing fun things over the next couple of weeks. That follow-up activity, that's where I also got to pull the parents aside, because let's face it, on a rain gutter regatta race, you know, you watched your kid race 3 times. I saw it 3 times. I really don't see the difference between 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 races, right? So I can take that parent and pull them to the side and then start talking to them about what scouting is. When you're after that meeting and after that recruitment, though, you need to make sure you're directly reaching out to parents. And that welcome packet, reiterating it, if it's a random time where one particular family decided to show up, you got to make sure they get the welcome packet. If you're a troop, our troop always had kids coming and going. Every time I had a new kid come in, I had a parent information sheet. I had the packet ready to go. I had one particular parent handing it out. Cause I was running around crazy for every scout meeting. So somebody else had to make sure at the troop meeting that they were getting it to the new parent. That new member coordinator is key to it. When are you doing a parent meeting? If you never do a parent meeting after the recruitment night, are you sure that the parents know what's going on? It's a good question. You help answer the questions at those things. Sometimes you're just going to do a parent meeting and say 5 seconds of stuff and then just answer their questions. Just know that if you're trying to send everything by email, maybe you should send a text or a phone call before you do that. Or maybe you send it by email and follow up with a phone call and text. The reality to it is every single one of us have an email. You probably just shared it with scouting. And we all know that you're not going to look at all those emails. I get a lot of emails from national and scouting. I don't read them all. There's too many. But one of the things to pay attention to is that texting is a very efficient method. It's the only communication method that exists out there where it's guaranteed to be read. And if you read this little thing, it says 90% of people will read their text within the first 3 minutes that they got it. That's an amazing statistic. You want to talk about saving yourself time and hassle? Pick up texting for getting a message out to your unit. You can take the same link that you had for the file that you're trying to send people, take that file, go dump it on Google Drive, drop it on OneDrive, you name it, somewhere online, store it, and share the link through a text, and people will get it the same way as they could have gotten it through an email, right? But it increases your odds of being efficient on getting the message home. Now, at a recruitment night, Justin and Kelly come in, you get all the info and packet and stuff from us. When you first come into one of the recruitment nights, we have these contact cards. And so these are critical to us. We'll take these contact cards and we'll dump them into a database. And we'll do that for you. We'll send you the data in a spreadsheet back to you after we get it in. And then you have name, phone number, contact info for every scout, potential scout that's shown up. We send out reminder emails. And we're doing that to say, hey, thanks for coming. Thanks for looking at scouting. Reminder, if you have questions, let us know. We're here to help you join. We send out those reminder emails. We'll eventually start asking, hey, how come you haven't joined? We do that until they fall off with either a 90-day time frame, or for us, they've joined. And so we start doing that kind of stuff. But those contact cards, make sure you, at your recruitments, that those come back to the office. You're not going to lose the data. If you're worried about not having the data right away, take pictures of them all and then send them into the scout office, because we're going to try to help make sure that those kids still join for you.
Big thing I've heard on that really helps is once you get that information back, what the unit can do is text them every time you're doing something. Hey, we've got this coming up. Hope to see you there. And then just keep texting them nonstop because they showed an interest. And until they tell you stop texting me, keep letting them know. Hey, we got this coming up. Hey, we got this coming up. Until they say, hey, no, knock it off. Stop texting me. So let them know what's coming up.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but probably need to say it. It's so important that our kids know and our parents know that they can go to things inside scouting and do things. For our troops, make sure you're holding 2 troop meetings a month, and make sure you're doing an activity every month of the year. For our packs, make sure you're having at least 2 DIN meetings a month and 1 activity a month. For our troops, it really should be 12 months of the year camping, right? But the goal on this and the philosophy is still the same. You're trying to make sure that you're providing activity, because activity means more parents are engaged. Activity means more kids are engaged, right? And so if you're giving the vision of having fun, then more people want to tag along to have fun with you. Applications, we mentioned this earlier, but If you do a paper application and have a paper application, in today's world, you have to submit that as soon as possible. So critical and key. If it's an adult leader application, you have to submit it. Adult leader applications and a registering adult fills out a paper application, and the process is then it comes into the scout office. As soon as Nikki gets it, she goes to put it into the computer. Once she enters an application and it goes into the computer, it kicks out an email to the individual saying, "Thank you for applying to scouting. You must pass a background check before you can participate." A couple days go by, then all of a sudden they get another email. "Thank you for filling out the application. You're now approved to operate as an adult leader." But in order for all of that to happen, you must also have completed safeguarding youth training. Now, just be aware, safeguarding youth happens, turning in an adult application happens, and you'll also have to worry about training. But those applications, if you fill out an application for an adult online, then that application can be approved by the charter rep. Unless the charter rep has given authority as a charter rep delegate to somebody else in the unit, the charter rep is the only one allowed to approve adult applications, okay? But as soon as that charter rep approves that adult application, it posts instantaneously. The email goes straight over to the person applying saying you're in the holding pattern pretty much, and the process is fast. If you fill out a paper application, I being one, and everyone else in the room and everyone else online, nobody has said, "All right, I got the application today," and been 100% on time to the office, at the scout office, the very next day to turn those applications in. It just doesn't happen, right? And so when you get a paper application, the paper application can take 3, 4, 5, 6 days before it actually gets into the computer. And so be aware that adult leaders are not allowed to participate until they've cleared that background check. Okay. Now, who should be registered as an adult leader? Anybody that's going to act in any form of interaction with the youth. That's one. Anybody that's going to act as any form of a leadership role with the unit. For example, the treasurer only goes to the troop committee meeting and never interacts with the youth. And the troop committee meeting happens at the bar. Well, guess what? The treasurer is supposed to be registered. They're doing scouting. They're interacting with scouting, and they also are interacting with your bank account. So heck yeah, you want them registered, right? But just look and pay attention to that. So if you're an adult leader, or you have plans to be an adult leader, or you're thought about being an adult leader, or you're wondering about whether you should be registered, then the answer to it is yes, you're supposed to be registered. On youth, once a youth comes to one meeting, that's their recruitment. Once they come to the second meeting, they've started to participate. By the time they come to the third meeting, they are participating. By the time they come to the third meeting, yes, they're supposed to be registered. We don't get to run around in these days and say, "Oh, they're not registered." But how do you know if they're registered? You check via scout.org, you check my.scouting, you check Scoutbook. All these places have a roster for you to be able to check and interact with parents and scouts. But training is also available in all those locations for you to check to see who needs training. We sometimes, as leaders, don't do a good job at setting the expectation on the front end. If you want a quality unit, set the expectation on the front end when you recruit an adult, telling them, "We expect you to be trained." You'll see a difference in your unit if you tell all the parents when they're recruited, "Got to do safeguarding youth training." As soon as you're completed with that, please step in and make sure you start doing the assistant scoutmaster training. Please make sure you do the den leader training. Give them a timeline. Tell them a date. Please have it completed by this time frame. Have somebody else help check in with it. Justin is part of the training committee for the council, and helps out with Lisa, our council training chair, and those guys are starting to help reach out and make sure that people are trained. We do that because we're worried about units having a quality experience. There is something coming in the next month or two. It's called the Recruitment Guidebook. It's kind of like the Bible for scouting on how to recruit. There's lots of good information on it. Stay tuned. Justin will help push that over the next couple months. And it's got every detail of questions and so forth. If you're wondering at 10 o'clock at night and you can't fall asleep, this is a great thing to start picking up to read because you will help find the answers, but you'll also put yourself to sleep. So it's a great book, but filled with great resources. So, if you've done a first aid training course, one of the things that they teach you inside a first aid training course is that as soon as you identify that you need to have 911 called, they teach you, you go call 911. You go call 911. Specifically call out somebody and specifically ask them to do it, right? It's the same thing inside scouting. When we have specific tasks that need to be done, if they're not big tasks, go and specifically ask somebody to do it. It helps you be on a path towards recruiting more adults. Sometimes we keep everything on our plates and we don't share it. That is, we don't share it. We don't prepare the next round of leaders, and we don't prepare other parents to help step up and participate and become our friends, and them have a chance to become friends with others inside the unit too. And the more you have parents becoming friends, the more you have a chance to have more youth participate too. So one of the awesome things that I love for this next year is, some of you may have seen us, we were running around with Lego type minifigures, as I call them, Scout bricks and Scout figs. But we use these for recruitment. We're going to have a good Lego theme this year. And so feel free to get prepared for that. We'll have some further ideas on how you can do some of those Lego themes and Lego parties and stuff with recruiting for next fall. But do know that if you're doing a recruitment event, we do have totes where it's a portable tote of a Pinewood Derby track, but it's got Lego race plates. And so kids can build Legos on top of those race car plates. It's the same size as a Pinewood Derby car. And we have these little portable tracks. They fit on, I think, 3 6-foot tables. And so great little thing to be using as a resource at a recruitment event. It can also go to any school activity, or it can go to other things. We have them. They get used a lot, or were used a lot this last fall, and very successful at attracting kids to come. So if you got a school carnival or something like that, just let us know. Great times. So we also have a portable archery range. We have other games here at the office too. So if you're looking for an activity to coincide with, say, a school carnival or something like that, we have things that you can check out. If you don't have an idea of what you want to do at some other event, just let us know and we can toss ideas out. So one of the important things for you, make sure that you share your recruitment date. We're asking every unit in the council to share the recruitment date by 7/31. And that's just important for us, because if you're sharing it with us, that means we know which units have taken the time to plan. This is enough time for you to get together with your unit. I joked about going to the bar, but I don't drink 1 ounce, but I sat down with our Cub Scout pack committee and we went to the pizza joint. Whoever wanted a beer, they could get a beer, and the rest of us got pizza, and the unit paid for the pizza, and you paid for your own drink, right? We did a lot of planning there, had a lot of fun as leaders. And, I encourage you to do the same thing. Go to the coffee shop, go to the donut shop, take the time as adults to go be adults and have some fun and plan something, because that goes a long ways in you being prepared for next fall. But you got to put some thought towards being a little prepared. Justin and Kelly are here to help answer questions as you work to put together your plans. They've got great ideas on how to implement and do things. So feel free to reach out. And once again, my name's Pat Dannenberg. I'm your Scout Executive, and I'm here to help answer questions too. So if you can't get a hold of Dan, reach out to me because I'm glad to help answer questions too. So always glad to help with recruiting also, and appreciate everybody coming tonight and taking the time to be here. So hopefully you heard a little bit, learned a little bit. But at this time, if you had questions, you wrote them down or saved them, feel free to holler out and ask. And for everybody online, thanks for being with us tonight, and feel free to ask away on questions, guys.
Who's doing the scout talks during this at the schools?
Oh, that's a great question. So these guys can come in. I will say, you know, the best experiences I had for scout talks was I would go in, you know, I was a parent, but I was also a guy that worked for scouting, but I still recruited like 3 other moms to go into the school with me. And it was because I couldn't put the wristbands on fast enough with the kids walking through the line, right?
Mhm.
And that little wristband increased my efficiency rate of getting the message home. You know, I always paid attention to like, all right, the math dork in me comes out saying, all right, what's my odds? Am I increasing my odds of getting the message home to Jen?
Well, it's always been the district executives that have gone into all of the schools in this council.
Yeah,
And so now with the changes in the law, how is that going to change with the expectation that the unit leaders go in? Or will these guys still be able to go in?
they can still do
Yes.
this. Yeah,
Okay,
Yep,
so you guys will still do
Yep.
it? Okay,
yep. The only thing that changes now, we'll have more access to go to the schools and do it.
to the ones that are fighting,
What's that?
to the ones that are fighting.
yeah. But you know, in all reality, like, if I were you guys, don't let them be the only ones that go in.
Well, it's always just been, ever since I have been part of this, since I joined back up. It was a fight to get the district
Yeah.
to go back in, and then they were the only ones that were allowed to go in. It's not that because I was opposed to going in, it was that the schools weren't allowing it.
GT was really tough on it.
And so over the last 8 to 10 years, what the membership team has worked really hard at with the schools, and Joel worked really hard with the schools to get these guys to be able to go in.
Yeah.
And do that. So it's not because the leaders didn't want to, it's because they couldn't. They were being turned away. So I'm just wondering if it's gonna be pushed back onto the leaders or if it's gonna remain with the district execs.
I think it's always these guys working with the unit
Mhm.
to help make sure that there's a date for that recruitment night, right?
Right,
And then once you have that, it's a group effort to try to make sure, all right, do we have it confirmed to go inside the school? Now, if the unit reaches out and says, hey, here's the date, time, and location for
Right.
you to do the scout talk, and it saves them a phone call because you've got the relationship and got the date, time, and location secured, great. They're not going to complain 1 ounce, right? But at the same time frame, if they're reaching out to the school also to set it, you know, it's tag who's ever's first, right?
Mhm.
So now I will say, you guys as a unit having the relationship with the schools, you know, that's always critical and key, right? Because these guys are going to be the ones that pick up the phone randomly, you know, hey, it's that time of year again, you know.
No, I'm not opposed to it. I
Yeah.
just wanted to know what the expectation was going to be. So.
I think I saw a raised hand online.
We got a couple questions online. First one coming in from Brian Kelly saying, let's take in and operationalize. Definitely want to lean on our DE. You mentioned the realignment. How do we know which one to reach out to? So Kelly and I will be reaching out to who our new leaders are and kind of doing more of like a, welcome. Hey, we're working with you guys now. So Kelly and I will be reaching out to whoever our new units are, but it's kind of like a brief overview of it. How it's mostly portioned out is like north of I-90 in Houston County is going to be kind of going to me. South of I-90 is going to be going to Kelly for, in more of a simplistic terms, I think is how it's.
Yeah, they didn't change a lot. There's just some things that kind of just mixed around a little bit, so there isn't major changes on it. It's just a little bit more streamlined, so if somebody calls the office and says, you know, I'm looking for this, and instead of like, you know, before Justin would be here and then 20 miles, I would be here, and then 20 miles, Justin would be here. So now it's just kind of, there's you know, a northwest and a southeast is what it is.
So it'll help us to kind of get back to having units doing more things together and maybe leaning on each other. Whereas in the past, you know, I'd be working on one separate recruitment effort here, but then Kelly had another, you know, pack or troop somewhere close by. And we wouldn't realize until after we did a bunch of efforts that, oh, there was some stuff that we could have been like collaborating and reaching the masses a lot better with both of our units. So it's going to really help that in a great way. I also had a question from Joshua Wolf. Says he's the charter org rep for Troop 7. He's been doing he says, I think I've been doing adult applications out of order. Once the adult submits their app, how long does the background check take and the app return for me to sign? So you gotta sign the app first and then have it into us, or approve the app online through my.scouting if it's an online application. And then once that's in and into our system, then the background check typically takes like 2 days. Right?
I've seen the digital applications for adults. Once the charter rep approves, I've seen that app on average, it's 48 hours or less that it's been approved. If you do the paper application, even once Nikki gets it in, the paper application typically takes longer on average. Regardless, there's nothing internal that we have done different. It's just on average that paper application takes longer.
Does safeguarding youth have to be done before that background check goes through as well?
It does, yep. And there's another component too, also, when you start talking, you know, you're going on a troop camp out this weekend and you have a parent that wants to go on the troop camp out. Okay, well, it says in site scouting rules that any parent that wants to go on a troop camp out can only go to visit during the day. They can't stay overnight, right? If you want them to stay overnight, well, then they have to fill out an application and join and be registered. Well, all right, if you're going to fill out a paper app, if you did a digital application online right now, tonight, with that parent, you have a shot at them being approved tomorrow. It's a shot. Paper application, no chance at all. You know, and some people are wondering, like, all right, all of a sudden this person's going to go to summer camp with us because we lost one adult. I need another adult, right? You know, that's one of those circumstances. All right, you better hurry up and get the adult application in. The easiest, quickest way to get them approved is through the online process.
Got another question that popped through. Who do we work with to get online adult applications set up, or how do we access it? So that's going to be through your Be a Scout pin. As long as you're online and able to be seen on there, people can go through and do an adult application on there. They'll have to create a my.scouting account and take the safeguarding youth training and then go through and do the adult application on there. And then the charter organization representative has to be the one to approve it. Nobody else in the pack can approve it. So you got to make sure that you're in communication with your charter organization rep to go in and approve those applications.
And then your PIN also has to say that you will accept online applications. There's actually a button or something you have to check off that says you can take that. Otherwise, they'll go on and they won't be able to fill out an app.
And Justin, you'll include that hot link that takes you over to the how-to for Be a Scout.
All those links and everything.
So I have another question. So everything on the Be a Scout pin is going to be updated by the K3, or is it updated by the council?
No, it's updated by the unit. The
Okay.
council can go in, but a lot of times we don't have a clue what
Right.
information you want.
No,
on
I
there,
get
right?
it. I get it. It's just another area of contention over the past couple of years, and it's changed in the last year or so. So I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, if you guys want to change it, by all means, change it and change it to what you need to. You can put a unit website in there. There's ways you can put contact emails. So some kid joined and turned in the application online. Well, you can have an email kick out to that parent right away that says, here's all the information you need for our pack, you know? So there's lots of helpful tools put into beascout.org that makes the process a lot smoother.
Any question about advertising? You said that you can pay for ads for social media. Where are you advertising and like what kind of ads are we looking at making here?
So the ads that we do are mostly on Facebook. Now, granted, I mean, this isn't directly for every particular unit, but, you know, I paid for an ad yesterday. We'll run a scouting ad before every movie at the Marcus Theater here in town, from May 15th to August 20th. You'll see. So if you show up, if it's a 7 o'clock movie, right at 7 o'clock, our ad's supposed to play. Unless they're not on time, but you know.
Happens sometimes.
It happens.
Yeah, another good place I've seen when we can, if you got questions on advertising and stuff, you know, feel free to reach out. But one place I've heard works really well is going on to like the Nextdoor app. So it's like a community local based thing where people will post things and it'll show up like everybody who's in your neighborhood will show up. Hey, this person who lives in this neighborhood has this going on. So on Nextdoor, it's like everybody that's around me, you can post, hey, you want to join Cub Scouts? And it'll be a lot more localized and personalized as opposed to us putting a bigger ad on Facebook. That's, oh, well, that's just those like, you know, the big wigs are paying for those ads. But if people see something more local, they're a lot more inclined to join. So Nextdoor is a really good app.
Do we have to invite a whole bunch of people into our page on Nextdoor? I've never heard of Nextdoor.
Nextdoor, it's just you like join a community, so it'll be based on your address. It'll automatically put you in like this local community, and then when you post things to Nextdoor, it'll just kind of blast it out to everybody in that community.
Oh, no.
And it's another thing that we can do too, ad wise per se. It's not really ad, but it's physical. So in some locations, it makes sense to do like a 3-foot by 6-foot banner and 2 T-posts put out, you know, and so we can help do that. We can buy those materials too. You know, here in the Cross, doing it in town, all right, well, it's probably not going to work, right? But we can help buy those too and help make sure that happens.
And a lot of those small communities rely on those like big banners for, you know, promoting big events that are happening in those communities. You know, that one crossroads in that small community where everybody's driving through that crossroads every single day, like perfect place to put something up like that.
Did you ever get any kind of all weather posters made? We're talking to you like today.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That's something that we could probably look into. I don't know where we were on that, but that's something we were planning earlier last year. We had the potential of somebody was going to help us print kind of posters that would be a little bit more permanent and able to be put outdoors and kind of bear through the weather.
I don't know, like we could post up at the local Trevor pool.
Yeah, right.
Other locations, but
Mhm.
we don't have all other stuff.
Yeah, if you know for sure, like, hey, I've got this spot, you know, that'll be a good push for us to for sure go through with that and find a way to print something off for you. So if you know, like, hey, I want this information on here at this spot, you know, feel free to coordinate with us and we can help you with that.
I was talking earlier, leaders, what they begun, like I was talking to you about the training that
Mhm.
Center for. Are we able to use the inflatable media range, providing training
For
for recruitment?
for
If we do a
BB
couple-
guns,
if we do a couple packs together.
So it has to be when you start looking at archery and BB guns and slingshots, tomahawks, you know, all the shooting sports, it has to be when it comes to Cub Scout ages, it has to be a council district activity.
that inflatable archery range is different because it's more of kind of a toy. Same with the like plastic tomahawk throwing. That's different than a real tomahawk axe kind of throwing. So they're kind of considered.
Just those rules still apply.
Oh, do that?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it wasn't.
Now, if he's showing up and it's a recruitment event and one of us is there with it for a recruiting event, it's technically a council supported recruitment.
Interesting.
Is that the same for BB gun range? The inflatable BB gun range?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Who's that temp range master?
Yeah. That one of you has to be served. Just any other questions online?
No more questions coming through online.
Question, so you said we can go into schools, can flyers be sent out
from schools or
It's a great question.
like hand or like a paper flyer? You know, our school will actually email them out, but I also would, you know, like the paper one.
In the office, we'll print whatever stack of flyers you need. And so we can print those. And
But the new law is the new law allowing.
the new law
paper.
says flyer. It doesn't say anything about it being digital. It says a flyer.
So a flyer could be.
So we'll be able to get flyers into the school.
Okay.
So could a school turn around and say potentially that they only do digital flyers? I think there's a chance that could occur. But as an office, you know, even if a school has said that they do digital flyers, I've still had chances plenty of times where somebody says, we only do digital flyers. Okay, but if I show up with the printed flyer, will you still send it out? So, you know, there's still that path. We'll still print regardless.
Yeah, Yale's been, actually pulled back flyers for a couple weeks. They're, our final derby, they invited all three schools. It's like,
Yeah.
send them out.
You'll see the different digital platforms that are out there for handing out flyers. Once a school principal finds out and starts paying attention to the analytics of how often those flyers are read, they stop paying for the digital flyer format.
We've got a question from Chris Matuska raised his hand for a second. Chris, it looks like your hand went down. Do you still have a question?
Gonna say, I know in lacrosse schools, they'll only allow for the digital flyer. We had asked about paper copies. The only way we got around it was back to school nights. I think it's just based on district. A lot of them won't approve handing out the actual paper copies themselves.
One thing we can help with is printing out like personal invitation cards. So most schools, like we've talked about before, most schools will allow kids to hand out personal invitations to all the kids in their classroom, and they have to hand them out to every kid in their classroom. Well, those invitation cards could be inviting their friends to come to scouting. So that could be a route to explore too, and that's something we could help print out as well. So if you want to do, if they can't do flyers and you want to hand out cards to your scouts to hand out in their classroom, that's a route that we could go. Cody Murphy from Pack 76 just had a comment. I've had luck with printed out 4x6 flyers at the local school.
Yeah.
They've used it for multiple events.
Another question I had was, you were suggesting on yard signs putting paper, but how does that work with rain?
So when you take a 11 by 17 piece of paper, you print the date, time, location twice on it, and you cut it in half, and then you turn around and take a roll of clear tape and attach it. And so in the fall time, we kind of know what's going on when you start hearing.
Me and Kelly sitting upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the ones for West Salem I put in, then you just cover it in that clear tape so they don't get wet.
Yeah, and it works pretty good. Whereas if you don't cover the whole piece of paper with tape, it'll look like it got rained on. Any other questions, guys? Really appreciate everybody coming out tonight. If you have other questions, feel free to reach out and chat away with us. We're glad to help, glad to do whatever you may need. And appreciate you being here tonight. Go scouting.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Come check out.
For everybody online, thanks for being here tonight with us, and have a great night.
Yeah, Nikki has the raffle tickets. Once again, they're $20 a piece and the unit keeps 10 of that.
Thanks, Cody.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 by.
Makes it-